The stories, simply heartbreaking.
I couldn't grasp the fact that somebody had just murdered my child, like murdered.
Families left to deal with tragic losses.
Obviously, I couldn't believe it, like it was unreal.
Too many in the city of Columbus left heartbroken.
I looked in the paper and it was like, woman killed at Far East, 96 homicide of the year. That was it, one sentence. But she's this whole person with a name.
Young lives snatched away from loved ones.
I had a few people I know in high school die from gun violence.
Tonight, the faces, the families, the communities behind the heartache.
I don't understand how somebody could take somebody else's life.
We're also getting insight on what officers are doing to better connect with the community as they work to solve and prevent these crimes.
I don't just look at numbers. For each one of those victims, that's a family that's left behind to pick up the pieces.
And talking to those on the ground level.
Now when I talk to young people, I can relate because I've experienced a lot of things that they experience. And what we call it is called a credible messenger.
Community leaders stepping up to make a difference, fighting to save lives.
We will continue to make sure her vision lives on.
A frank discussion about the deadly violence and the steps we each can take to address a problem growing out of control. This is Columbus in the Crosshairs, an abc6 Townhall special. Good evening, I'm Rodney Dunigan. Tonight we're taking a deeper look into the violence impacting the Columbus community. Over the past 2 years, homicides have hit record numbers. Behind those numbers are families and communities dealing with unthinkable loss. Tonight we're sitting down with those directly impacted by the violence and those fighting to stop it and working to save lives. First tonight, the story of Mackenzie Ridley. The young 17-year-old's life was cut short just weeks after her high school graduation last summer. Just one of too many young lives taken in an instant.
Mackenzie was born August 21st, 2003 at Grant Hospital.
It's been more than 18 years since that day, but for Seneca Ridley Turner, it seems like it was just yesterday.
That's when she was at the hospital.
A moment she'll never forget. A day she says her daughter, her best friend, was born.
The moment they gave her to me and put her in my arms, she just looked up at me and it was like, wow.
Mackenzie Marie Ridley, a blessing her mother says she never imagined.
I felt like I had received a message from God. And in that message, he told me, he said, this child is supposed to be here. This child has purpose.
That bundle of joy eventually turning into a beautiful, bright, and engaging young lady.
Mackenzie, her heart was just tender. And she was always just caring and giving.
Her mother says not only did she have a big heart, but she dreamed of being a business owner, an entrepreneur. Her talents couldn't be denied.
She was a phenomenal artist. She could sew. She could cook. I mean, my God.
Unfortunately, those hopes, those dreams, cut short.
Words can't really even explain.
Explain the pain of a mother who lost her best friend.
Literally, Rodney, I was laying in my bed thinking I'm ready to die now. I don't even want to live without her.
It was in June of last year when Mackenzie was killed, her young life snatched away by a bullet outside of a gathering at the Far East Community Center.
And I couldn't grasp the fact that somebody had just murdered my child. Like murdered, assassinated. They said there were 58 shell casings that lie around Mackenzie's body. 58? That sounds like a war zone. I thought she was at a park with kids. How are 58 shell casings around her body if she's at a park with kids?
Mackenzie was just months away from her 18th birthday.
It was like, I've spent 17 years and 10 months raising this child. I carried her for 37 weeks and 5 days. And we've had this, this time and all these experiences together. And abruptly, she was murdered. And then it was like she didn't even belong to me anymore.
One of the most painful things, walking into a hospital room, identifying her little girl.
When I looked at my child on that table, her eyes were still open. She was still warm. That was my child, just like that. Everything. She was gone. I mean, earlier that day, I literally was buying things for her for school, for college. I knew I had to pack my child up soon and take her off to college. How is she gone?
Mackenzie, one of a record number of homicides in Columbus last year.
I looked in the paper and it was like, woman killed at Far East, 96 homicide of the year. That was it. One sentence. And I'm like, but she's this whole person with a name. And she's a child, not a woman. And what is number 96? Like all of this didn't even make sense to me.
The pain still fresh. She works through it day by day, keeping tokens close, like this lock of Mackenzie's hair.
Every now and then I have to come back and just touch her hair, just to remind myself that it's not just a memory for me.
Also, this urn with Mackenzie's ashes, a reminder to keep her near.
I want Mackenzie right here with me where she always was.
Mackenzie had big plans. She just graduated high school and was just weeks away from heading off to college. Her mother can't help but to think what could have been.
It was almost like this is a diploma. Not only did she graduate school, but I guess she graduated from life.
Coming up a bit later, more of Mackenzie's story, how her family is working to share her passion of service to the community and fighting to keep her memory alive. In the process, helping to create the next generation of entrepreneurs right here in this community. Gun violence has unfortunately become a deadly trend in this community. Think about this. In 2019, 106 people lost their lives to gun violence. Now, in 2020, there were 178 murders, and last year, the city of Columbus recorded 204 homicides, the most ever in a single year. That's a 91% increase in just 2 years. For the families impacted by this violence, their loved ones are more than just numbers. For many like Brenda Johnson, they have a new mission in life, fighting for justice and for answers.
Oh, this is when he was like a year old.
For Brenda Johnson, the memories are all she has left.
Just a happy little baby.
Her rambunctious little boy, James, always into something, always with that smile on his face.
A very good kid.
These pictures, these moments, what she holds on to.
I miss him a lot. Every day is a new journey. Trying to get through it.
It's been more than a year since James was shot and killed outside of a Hilltop gas station, leaving behind his loving mother, family, fiancé, and 6 children.
I couldn't believe it. Like, it was unreal. I mean, everybody thinks not mine, or that's not going to happen to me, but firsthand, it can happen to anyone. It doesn't matter who you are or who your family is. Like, nobody's safe. Nobody.
At this point, no arrest in the case. The shooter still out there, somewhere.
It's awful. It's traumatic.
For Johnson, the question remains, why?
Oh, I'm heartbroken. Like, I don't understand how somebody could take somebody else's life. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like, what if that was your loved one?
As she searches for closure, she's also hitting the streets, hanging flyers in the community, pleading for information, doing all she can to keep the case and her son's name in the public eye.
My fight is to find justice. I consume my time with trying to figure out how I can get the word out here and how I could get people to talk.
The fight, certainly not an easy one.
I have my good days and bad days. A lot of bad days, but I cry alone.
She keeps her son close with this chain around her neck, etched with his fingerprint. That, along with the photos, a constant reminder, James is no longer here.
This is where it stops. He's not getting any older. He'll always be 29. He'll always look like that to us.
Also determined to ensure his memory lives on, that the community knows he was a loving father and son who was dearly loved by his family as well.
I tell everybody every day, he is not a number, he's not a graph, he's not a statistic, he's none of that.
Brenda Johnson, one of the hundreds of mothers in this city left to deal with losses they will never get over. Still to come tonight, a legacy of service, how the family and friends of Mackenzie Ridley are working to keep her name alive.
For me, I knew going into prison, I wanted to do something different with my life.
Terry Green turned his life around, and now he's working to make a difference in the lives of kids in this community. His mission to make an impact on the hundreds of kids he's reaching each and every day. And right after the break, we're going one-on-one with the Columbus Police Department's new Assistant Police Chief. Ahead, what officers are doing to better connect to the communities they serve as they try to fight this deadly violence. You're watching Columbus in the Crosshairs, an ABC6 Townhall special. Welcome back to Columbus in the Crosshairs, an ABC6 Townhall special. Making an impact on the communities they serve, Columbus police are stepping up their efforts to truly connect to neighborhoods and citizens across the city. For the department's new Assistant Police Chief, Lashana Potts, that means a renewed focus on community policing.
As a mom, I couldn't imagine your child being gunned down.
As the city of Columbus grapples with a rise in crime, aggressive efforts are underway by police to curb the violence. Assistant Police Chief Lashana Potts on the front lines of that fight.
I don't even think there's words that you can say to ease the heartbreak, but I want them to know that we're listening. We care.
Potts just started with the department last summer after spending more than 20 years on the police force in Detroit, joining CPD at a time when the city has seen a troubling rise in deadly crime. She's seen it firsthand. One of the officers on the scene in Southeast Columbus back in December when 9-year-old Demetrius and 6-year-old London Walneal, along with 22-year-old Charles Wade, were gunned down in a violent attack.
We don't value life, and we have got to do better. There's nothing that I can say to this family that's going to bring them closure, other than the fact that whoever you are, we will find out who you are and we will hunt you down until we get you.
Potts has made it a point to connect with the community.
In order for us to curb our crime, in order for the citizens to build trust, we have to get out to where they are. And so that means we got to get out the cars. We got to knock on doors. We got to see how kids are doing when they're playing in the playground. We have to get back to being human.
An example of that, just this past holiday season, helping to organize a toy drive for kids hit hard by homicide, left to navigate grief without their parent.
If we can do something to give them a glimpse of hope, to let them know that we surround them with love, that was just one of many things that we want to do.
Potts emphasizing it's that community policing approach that will really make a difference.
If the citizens don't trust us, how can they help us solve any crime? In order for them to want to be involved with us, it's our job to reach out to them.
Also stressing the community. People living in the city's neighborhoods will also have to play a part in the fight to save lives.
Our detectives are committed. We just need those little pieces that are not fitting to fit, and we need the community to do that.
She goes on to tell me that she's confident the department will be able to make a dent in this problem of violence across the city, but it's going to take a team approach in order to save lives. No one can stand on the sidelines. That means everyone in the Columbus community stepping up to make a difference. Still to come tonight, pulling kids off the streets and onto a better future. How one local community leader turned his life around and is using his story to save kids right here in Columbus, and how you can get involved with his mission.
The one thing she told me is that she wanted to make a difference.
And she's doing that even in her death. Ahead, how Mackenzie Ridley's life and legacy are being remembered through service. Her family working every day to keep her name alive.
Nowadays, you got to roll up your sleeves. You got to get really innovative. You got to really be able to be in the forefront and meeting young people where they're at.
Pushing to change young lives, community activist Terry Green is on a mission to pull kids off the streets and onto a better path. Green is the founder of Think, Make, Live Youth. The organization looks to provide opportunities for local kids, giving them a hand up that they need to move forward in life. Green was once one of those kids on the wrong side of the law and actually spent time behind bars. Now he's looking to make a positive impact, hitting the streets every day, working on the ground level, fighting to keep local kids on the right track.
By the age of 15 years old, I was considered what you call a homeless youth or a disconnected youth. My mother was incarcerated, and I was disconnected from my father. So I've been on my own since 15 years old.
Terry Green knows what it's like to come up hard. With no family to lean on by the time he was 16, he was a high school dropout with no money for basic needs like food and clothing. He turned to crime.
And by the age of 20, 6 months later, I was sentenced to serve 4 years in prison for drug possession and drug trafficking.
That sentence, a stark reality. He knew he had to make a change.
For me, I knew going into prison, I wanted to do something different with my life.
Not only did he get his GED behind prison walls, he started college as well.
I walked inside a prison as what they call a statistics of society, but I walked out of prison breaking statistical barriers.
His real-life experience now serving as a warning and a teaching lesson for local kids.
Now when I talk to young people, I can relate because I've experienced a lot of things that they experience, and what we call it is called a credible messenger. Right? A credible messenger is that I'm credible enough to be a messenger to share with you that I've overcome some of the same challenges that you experience.
Green is the founder and executive director of Think, Make, Live Youth. The nonprofit works to pull kids off the streets.
We out here and doing a community walk.
And onto a better future through community service, job training, conflict resolution, mentorship, you name it. One of those kids getting a hand up is Javaris Leach.
I always wanted to do more, and Terry gave us that opportunity.
Leach signed up for the program as a high school sophomore, now a freshman at Tiffin University. He knew this program could make a difference in his life. He's seen far too many take the wrong path.
I had a few people I know in high school die from gun violence. It really just made me think about how easy it is for someone to be here one day and gone the next.
His mission now, to make a difference, to be a positive light in the Columbus community.
I feel like since I come from this community, I would be more understanding to the problems in the community.
The program also helping to create the Just last year, we spotlighted Dion White. He got connected with the program and Green while still serving time. Not only was he able to turn his life around, but he now serves as a mentor, along with being the owner of a roadside service business.
He helped find what I didn't know was inside of me, and showed me how to give that to the world, how to really utilize my potential. Just having that guidance, that mentor, it just brings that out of you.
Green knows this work is saving lives and changing futures. He says putting boots on the ground is a must. As Green describes it, his life has made a full circle. He never imagined he'd be here, but he hopes to continue to make a difference.
Did I see this 10, 15 years ago? No, right? Did I see this before I went to prison? No, but to be able to say that I'm consistent and blessed to be doing this work, I am truly humble, honored, and grateful to be here and doing this work.
It's an honor for me to continue who she is and her vision and her legacy.
A legacy of service and a love for others. Family and friends of Mackenzie Ridley working to keep her name and work alive. We gave you a bit of insight into the pain her mother continues to fight through following her heartbreaking death, a young life taken far too soon. Mackenzie's family and friends are trying to use that pain for good, kickstarting a new foundation aimed at helping the next teen with big dreams right here in this community, also helping to ensure her name lives on. Tonight, they're also calling on the community to help them in that effort.
Go on down, baby. Get here, get here, get here, get here.
Woo! Friends came to me immediately after her passing, and they said, you gotta carry on Mackenzie's legacy.
Through the heartbreak and loss, Seneca Ridley Turner, along with family and friends of Mackenzie, have found a new purpose.
And the one thing she told me is that she wanted to make a difference. And I told her, you're already making a difference. And that just has stuck with me through this whole process.
Loved ones launching the Orange Hearts for Mackenzie Foundation. Orange was her favorite color. The foundation, a launching pad for the next generation of teen entrepreneurs.
It's created a lot of enthusiasm. Students are excited about it, and we're just excited about the opportunity and the partnership.
Providing mentors and scholarship dollars for young dreamers like Mackenzie.
It's important to me that I play my part in keeping her legacy alive.
I just thank God for her, because even at 17, she has made a difference in so many people's lives. And there's so many adults that have not accomplished what she accomplished in that short period of time. Her selfless love and giving of herself. And I credit that to her mom instilling it in her. And her village, because she had a village. I mean, she had a village of us that loved and cared for her.
The effort, a way to keep Mackenzie's name, aspirations, and work alive, making an impact in the community that she loved.
She will continue to be a household name, and we will continue to make sure her vision lives on.
As the fight continues to save lives right here in Columbus, you heard from some of those on the front lines and those dealing with the pain of loss each and every day. From the families to the community leaders and police, the message from all is clear. It will take each and every one of us to make a difference. For all of us here at ABC6 News, I'm Rodney Dunigan. Have a good night.